Good evening, everyone. We are so excited to be here tonight. I'm so thankful to have you all here as a guest. I am very, very excited about tonight's conversation. We have one of the most fantastic accountants in the game, I like to say, here to
Thank
share
you.
some enlightenment with us. You're welcome. We have gone through so many changes, and you guys may see me looking. I'm getting her bio information, so there's no disregard to you guys. I'm trying to make sure I'm on top of things. But we have a great conversation tonight to talk about something that I know matters to you all, and that's that money.
Money.
We have seen so many changes in the past year. We've had a lot of people who have been out of work. We have a lot of people who have transitioned into business owners. There's just been so much information put out there about grants, loans, and opportunities to really help you survive during these hard times. And so, in light of the tax season normally coming to an end on tomorrow, I felt it was necessary for us to get with some of our financial gurus to talk about what those changes mean for you, money management, and even career wise, how these awesome women are thriving. They were thriving before the pandemic, and they are thriving in the midst of the pandemic by being financially savvy. This discussion is called Understanding Tax Deadlines, Loan Programs, and Other Money Matters. And I'm so excited tonight because, and I get to go ahead and be myself. We have my cousin.
Yes.
I keep it. I have to go ahead and keep it a little formal but informal. So some people may say, "Oh, I see some resemblance. We share bloodline." My first
Yes.
cousin,
No
who is
shows.
doing some, who is doing some absolutely amazing things. She has worked in the accounting industry for many years and has also segued into her own business endeavors, helping to provide people with some magnificent resources. And I'll just go ahead and be honest with you. She has trained me to help me learn how to better manage my personal finances and how to better manage my professional finances. And the first year was rough for me. Excuse me. Excuse me, you all. It was rocky for me. But here in year two, she'll be proud to know I'm doing much better. And as many of you all know, I'm not the numbers lady.
We'll tell
so
you that from the beginning.
yes, but having a great person who is patient, who will guide you, who will help you understand the things you don't understand, makes a significant difference. And Bridgette has been absolutely amazing. So I'm going to share with you guys her bio, and we won't waste a whole bunch of time. We'll get down into the conversation because she has a lot of information for you tonight. Bridgette is the owner and founder of a company called Professional Business Solutions. She also owns four other companies that she has registered in the state of Texas. Her background consists of 20 plus years in accounting, taxation, and business management. Within the last 2 years, she has registered at least 22 new businesses for new and aspiring entrepreneurs between Texas, Louisiana, and California. And one thing about Miss Perkins is that if she doesn't have the answer then, because you live in a different state, she will get the answer
I'll
for you,
find
and she
out.
will get it very quickly. And that's what I love. Professional Business Solutions also teaches classes on income preparation, bookkeeping, and they also have a new series on YouTube in collaboration with a well-known realtor, and that stream is called Free Game Friday. So she was going to provide her links after we finish, so that you can also have that information. Free Game Fridays. Aside from her accolades, her main goal at this time is empowerment to help other business owners and the next generations to come. And Bridgette may not express it, but I'm going to also express that she is the mother of three children and the grandmother. Now, you have to help me with that number. The grandmother of,
I'm going to say 4 children because I did have a hand in rearing my stepson for
so
about 10
mother,
years
yes,
and
yes.
9 grandchildren, including his daughter.
9 grandchildren. That
And
is
I just
amazing.
celebrated my 48th birthday on Sunday.
Melanin glowing and glistening, okay? And I wanted to make sure to share that as well because we'll have a lot of people tuning in that are also looking at the entrepreneurial side of this and wondering how can I do this with all of the responsibilities in my life. And so as a woman, you can definitely relate to that because although your children are grown, you are extremely engaged with your grandchildren
Yes,
and very active in helping them if they need to get to activities and showing up to support them and just letting them spend all the time they want to with granny. So
exactly.
this is a great session for women who want to know how they can manage it all and for those who need to know what you can expect during this season of financial challenges. So without further ado, did I miss anything? Is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I think that was about it. That's as much as I can get out of that. And here we are now.
Fantastic. I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to get straight into the questions for tonight. So the first question is, how did you get into the accounting profession?
Well, without giving my whole history, because I'm going to save that for a book that I do have in mind about making for writing for myself, my story. I am from Louisiana, of course, for the people who do not know, and Damien and I are from the same hometown. Well, after 3 children and being laid off from the school system and not going to college right directly after high school, like my mom wanted me to, I was stuck sitting at home with 3 children and didn't have a job. So I decided to go to college, being hard headed. So anyway, I finished my associate's degree in accounting. Actually, I went for business management. My attention span was very short for business management at the time, so I transferred to another school. Well, they gave me a test in math and they gave me a test in English. And when I finished the test, the lady said that I scored higher than anyone that had come through there within the last 5 years on that math test. So she immediately placed me in accounting. I didn't go for accounting. She placed me in accounting. And it started from there. I really enjoyed it. I loved my instructors. I received my associate's degree. And I will never forget, I was in class with a young lady in some of my extracurricular classes. And she said, when I finish school, Bridget, I'm moving to Houston with my older sister. And, they're in the medical field. So she said, she's going to help me get a job at the hospital. So I was thinking, I don't know about Houston. That's a big city compared to where I'm from. And my mom and my uncle and family, they were totally against it because, it was just me and my children. And that was going to be a long ways from home. So, long story short, we are here. I went home. Well, what I did is I started faxing over my resume. At the time, it was faxes, and we didn't have cell phones, so I would literally drive to Houston a couple of days out of the week just to go to interviews. And I'll never forget my our aunt Leslie. She told me, she said, "We have been living in Houston for years. Why didn't you tell me?" So she let me stay overnight that weekend. She hooked me up with the staffing agencies. And I told mom, I said, I'm coming home to get my kids. So I came to Houston with 3 children, 3 little children, 3, 6, and one going on 9, a bed and a dresser. And I've been in Houston for 21 years now. So,
That that is such an amazing story, and I want to reiterate what you said. You said you came to Houston with 3 children and a bed, and you've been there for 21 years. And I
yes,
think that's
ma'am.
so important to share because a lot of women in particular are afraid to make that move because we feel like we don't have all of our things together. And that's something I can relate to. And maybe the delay is saying, well, when I get this and when I get that, or when I get here or when I get there. But there's an old saying that goes, sometimes there's nothing to it but to do it.
Hmm.
And I think that you exemplify that in every single way by saying, I picked up my children, I picked up my bed, we had somewhere to sleep, I knew we would have somewhere to lay our head,
Yes,
and I made that move and I didn't look back.
and
So
I
that
made
is
it
a
happen.
phenomenal story. And I, in particular, am so glad to hear the other nugget you said, which is you've already been planning a book where you will tell that story because there are a lot of women who need to know that it doesn't have to look pretty for you to decide to make the move that you want. But it can very well be the step that changes the rest of your life.
Yep.
So thank you for sharing that amazing story. And so I guess before we dive a little bit deeper, I want to ask you on the front end, what would you say to other mothers out there who are saying, I would really like to relocate, but I'm afraid because I don't think I have this, I don't think I have that. What would you say to them?
Well, one thing is, I do try to stay positive with everyone that I encounter who says I can't, or I may not, or I don't want to. The thing that I can say is the times have changed. As you heard me say back then, we didn't have cell phones. People in Houston had cell phones, but we didn't have cell phones from the river. So I would hop in that 81 Oldsmobile, Cutlass Oldsmobile, and I'd ride to Houston. But what I'm saying is, things are on the technology is so advanced now. There's so much on the internet now. And anything you do that is with anything, even if you just want to make a move or relocate, research. You have to have a plan. That's one of the things that the other lady and I discussed on our Free Game Friday. A business plan. Even in your personal life, have a plan. Have goals. Set goals. And if it's something that you want to achieve, don't say that you can't do it. Just say that you haven't been able to yet, but it's
Yeah.
coming. I am a strong believer in manifestation, and I have really, really been into that for the last, I'll say about 5 years now. I manifest the things that I want. I have a whiteboard in there every year. Denise and I, we do a yearly playbook. I write down everything it is that I want in that playbook, and I manifest that stuff. I go line by line and I check that checklist off. So what I say to people who do want to make a move, that's whether it's personal or business, have a goal, have goals, make a plan, and you work that plan. That's one of the things I learned when I started my very first business as a daycare, with a daycare. My the lady who taught me to be my own director, she said, make a plan. She said, plan your work and then work that plan. That's what she said. And that's in your personal life and business life.
I like
That's
that.
the best advice that I can tell you.
I like that. I like that. But I think that that's the best advice you can give. Have a plan, know what you want, and then just go for it. And so many women and men can use that advice because they're sitting right there at the threshold of it. And I heard you say, I manifest those things, writing it on the board, making it visible, claiming it, right? Believing that you can make that happen. And then seeing those things come to pass is an awesome thing to do. So I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's get into the profession and we'll come right back around to the empowerment because I don't believe at all just knowing and so I get to talk from a personal perspective. You know, even when I was a little girl, I used to love my cousin Bridgette, and at that time we didn't know each other that closely, but we went to the same church. And when I, just knowing she was my cousin, I couldn't wait to see her. I would run over and hug on her and everything. And I thought she was so pretty. And when she talks about their positive attitude, even when I was a little girl, she was always like that. And so it is the thing that has definitely been not only her gift for herself and her family, but the gift to everybody she encounters. And so when you speak those words, it's not just you being a talker, it's actually you being a doer. And it is exactly how you've been able to attract all the good things that you have received in life. So I want to share that because I'll see, people say, she's smiling all on camera. Did she smile that much in real life? Yes.
All the time.
Yes, she does. she really does give off that type of energy. And so that is so important to us moving forward through this life. So my next question is, how has your passion for numbers shaped your perspective on wealth and financial responsibility?
Well, I can remember when I first moved to Houston and my mom moved here to help me with the children. Every Friday when I got paid, I was balancing my checkbook. And she told me, she said, if you balance that checkbook one more time, nothing else is going. I would literally balance my checkbook. But now, Nobody really uses checks. I don't use checks anymore unless it's my business checks or whatever. But at that time, I would balance my checkbook every Friday, every week when I got paid. May not have spent a dime, but I was looking at that checkbook to balance that checkbook. Sometimes, I ventured off a little bit and didn't keep up with it. Sometimes, later on throughout the years when I just went on spending sprees when I would make a little bit more money. But having an aptitude for numbers, it did help me learn how to budget better. It again, some of the same skills that I use in business, I use in my personal life as well. And so a lot of times I would overthink myself with some things though. But I mean, even as far as getting a new car, I would buy an older model car or a used car, and I would be just as content with it. Or I would be very precautious about where I moved, how much the rent would be, how much my utility bills would be. So just small things like that, and that's how it is when I'm on my job. When I'm going through those financial statements, and we're looking at, okay, how much did we spend on overhead this year? How much did we spend on repairing those vehicles that are out there in the field this year? So having that aptitude for numbers really helped me in my personal life as well with budgeting and making precautious decisions on spending money. I'll never forget when my daughter told me, I told her, I said, I want to make a bigger presence on social media this year on, online, my online platforms and stuff. She said, well, Mama, you got to look the look now. You can't keep wearing your t-shirts and you know, well, what do you suggest? Wear my work clothes? No, that's going to probably be too much. But you need to at least go get you a Louis Vuitton or a Gucci. I said, girl, please. I mean, it's not like you can't afford it. So she said, I said, just get me a regular bag. I said, well, can I borrow somebody's or something? And, we laugh about it. Just give me a regular handbag and let me put the rest of that thousand and some dollars that you spend on Louis and Gucci, whatever, inside my purse. So anyway, that's how I deal with numbers. Everything to me is a calculated decision. Like I said, don't get me wrong. It has not always been peaches and cream. It has not always been 100%. There are times when I've wavered, and there's been times when I've had checking accounts go into the negative, and I had to move money around or I had to borrow money. So nothing is ever so, foolproof for 100%. But knowing numbers and even for business owners, I'm going to put it back to the business owners. Business owners, when I teach and coach these classes for these business owners, and they look at those numbers on their financials, the expression on their faces is like, wow. It could be, wow, I can't believe I made this much money. Where's it at?
Yeah.
Or, wow, I can't believe I spent this much money on that. It's wow. So, I hope that answered the question of that's what knowing numbers and having an aptitude for numbers do for me. And that's what I want to relay to my clients. I want you to look at these financials. I want you to look at these reports. I want you to see where all this money. I have a company that I deal with now just turned over $1 million this past year. But that person don't know, she knows where it goes, but it's like she can't believe that she makes that kind of money because to her it doesn't show. So I say that to say utilize those numbers. I have a personal budget that I use for my personal self as well, and I have all of my bills written down on that budget, and I put how much those bills, like for instance, fixed bills like my rent and so forth, truck note, insurance. I have the fixed bills, and then I have a column for variable bills. And then I have a column on how much I actually paid on those bills that month. And I just look at those numbers. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not good with numbers, like you were saying, I'm not good with numbers. I don't like math, but it really is, it doesn't have anything to do with math because we have spreadsheets now. So it does the math for you. All you do is enter the data. But you're only going to get out what you put in, so make sure you put the correct data. And then we have software that you can use. So anyway, so that's what the numbers and having an aptitude for numbers does for me. It really helps me out professionally, and it also helps me out personally. One thing I want to share also, it actually ties in everything that I'm talking about. It kind of goes in full circle. One of the things that I wanted to mention about the manifestation, I put when we went through, my family and I went through Hurricane Harvey back in
Mm-hmm.
2017.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up moving to a whole nother side of Houston, or north, further north of Houston. And I went from a townhome to another house. But of course, all of my children are grown now. But my daughter and my son-in-law was still staying with me. So to make a long story short, I had a 2013. It was brand new. I got in a Malibu, and my uncle actually helped me get the car because I went through a divorce and everything. So I was really getting back on my feet. And I was so happy because I only had one more year left to pay on that car, not knowing that the note that I was paying, he had me paying extra money. See, that's another catch with knowing numbers. Paying extra money to pay that note down sooner and also cut down on the interest. So those are small little things that you can do as far as budgeting, help you save money as well in the long run. But anyway, so after that, he called me and he would talk to me and he'd ask me, he said, well, he said, Big B, what are you going to do about another car? I said, well, I think I'll just go get a cash car. And I was just fine. I bought a brand new, oh, well, not a brand new, I bought a 2007 Nissan Altima. And that car, they say Nissans last forever. And I rode it and I drove it. So my daughter decided she wanted to get her a brand new car, a Challenger. I said, okay. So we went and got the Challenger. So I'm looking around on the car lot and I said, hey, what do I need to do to get in one of these vehicles? Well, I'd already put on my 2020 playbook, I said, Bridgette, it's time for you a brand new car. Treat yourself. You don't have anything else to worry about. So I put on there an Escalade. Cadillac Escalade. That was my favorite. That's my favorite vehicle. That's what I wanted. So went to the car lot. He said, well, you need to go ahead and sign the paperwork or whatever if you're looking for a vehicle. He's trying to sell me a car. 2 days later, girl, my Altima started breaking down on me. The alternator went out, so I had to call a mobile mechanic to fix the alternator. Okay, we fine and dandy. We're driving to work. I get to the parking garage that Friday. I'm leaving out, and the check engine light came on. I said, you know what? Screw it. Let me call these people about me a new car. I went and got me a GMC Yukon, which is a step down from the Escalade.
I love it.
But that just lets, like I said, I wrote it down. I asked specifically really for what I wanted. I pretty much got what I wanted. It's just a step down from the Escalade, but it came so fast. So and right after I got it, they bought a black Escalade out there on the car lot.
Right.
But anyway, so that tied into the manifestation piece, and it also ties into I was really being very conscientious about spending the money. I mean, I could afford another car note. It's just I didn't want to at that time. I went and bought a cash car, and I was fine with it for the next 3 years. But I decided to go ahead and get me another one.
Spoil you, but I like a couple of things that you said though. Number one of the things you said was that when you talked about going through a divorce and how you caught tough times that way, but honestly, you just approached it as being one of those experiences that's like a bump in the road. It did not deter you from still pursuing those things that you wanted. You still had a vision of where you were trying to go. You still had an idea of the things that you wanted. And by having the desire to get them, you had somebody who showed up to say, okay, how can I help you get where you're trying to go? So that's the first thing. Because when we talk about finances, going through a divorce is one of those hard hits that you can take, and it can change a lot of things for you. The next thing you said was, I could have bought another vehicle and paid a note, but I chose a cash car and I was fine with it. And I've heard you say more than one time, my daughter talked to me about getting $1,000 handbag, but I told her, why don't I just get something else that's nice? And so I want to throw in a question right quick. From a financial aspect, what would you say how would you advise the younger generation to deal with feeling like you have to spend a lot of money on luxury brands, a top-notch car, an expensive high-rise, things that really don't directly contribute to you having to your personal wealth and growth? What would your advice be for people who feel like you have to have all these things that don't contribute to you in order to look a certain way or seem a certain way to others?
And I've seen that all too often. Don't get me wrong. I love nice things. I love name brands. I like my own brand better, boss. But
Create the brand.
um, one thing I do look at, and don't get me wrong, audience, to each is his own. You make your money, you spend it how you want to. But like she said, how do I take it? I look at the fact that yes, I could buy those things, but at this time, there's other things that are more important for me to be spending my money on than buying a $1,500 handbag or going out and building a big mansion. So my thing to the younger generation is just prioritize. There's nothing wrong with you spending your money on what you want, what you like. If you like designer handbags, but prioritize. And going back again, just using my own personal experience. My daughter, she loves nice things, but she's not a person that will go out there and just frivolously throw her money away like that, unless it's for something that she really, really wants. She wanted that Challenger, so she and her fiance got that Challenger. So she buys what she wants, but at the same time, um, you can purchase things at a cheaper rate and still look nice. And a lot of people will buy a designer to make it look like they have money. You know what I'm saying? It's like, again, I'm not knocking anybody or talking about anybody specific, but I just see people out in the world. They feel like if they have designer on, then it makes their status. Put it like that. For people to think that they have status, they buy designer stuff. Outside materialistic things. At this point, you also have to remember though, they're the younger generation. I'm from an older generation, and I'm from a different background. I'm from a country setting, whereas the simple things to us were good. We would have birthday parties in the yard for the kids, wiener roasts and stuff like that. Now my 8-year-old granddaughter and mother just took her to my Orlando, Florida for her birthday. You know,
but I think all of that is relevant as well, because the reason I brought the question up is because you and I have talked about buying land, which I'm into. We talked about investing in properties. We talked about a lot of things when it comes to that. And I feel that a lot of times when we talk to other people, or even a lot of younger people, is that the understanding of money consciousness is not always there. Imagine if you bought a $2,000 handbag, but you live in a town where you could spend 1,000 to have a piece of land that just has to have the taxes paid off. Or you can put that into an account where you could be accruing interest, and in a couple of years, you have more money than you imagine. And so, I can talk this talk all day, but when you have a person who has an expertise in this area and who has seen what can happen, and we're in the season of entrepreneurship, if we say we want to have the successful businesses and we want to have these legacies of wealth and money, how do we then ensure that we are teaching this generation that we don't just want to talk about it, we want to be about it? And you dropped a nugget. You said, I like other people's brand, and you may not realize what a golden nugget that is, but you said, but I like my brand better. You went out and made your own shirt line and wine line, everything supporting your platform. And so now you're marketing yourself, and you're seeing a turnaround on investing into yourself and doing things. Look, if Gucci has a t-shirt, now Boss has a t-shirt too. And quite often made out of the same type of fabrics, things of that nature. So you made such a powerful statement, and seeing you make those type of investments. That's why I wanted to ask you that question in particular, because I think that is important that we share, especially with our younger population, that we do love nice things. I have my eyes on the prize for what I'm planning to get before this year is out. But it comes with me being able to attain a goal that's really important to me as well. And so I think that's important. Go ahead.
And sorry, not to cut you off. So when you look at it at that aspect, so now that I got all of that was my disclaimer. So when you look at it at that aspect, so what I will tell you then from to the audience and the younger people, from a professional look, yes, take that $1,500, Buy your $500 bag then. That other $1,000, that was a good statement that you made about where we came from. I can remember my uncle purchasing a piece of property for $300 because of a sheriff sale or tax sale. So yes, there's property out here. You could take that $1,500 and now you own an asset that is going to be worth far more than that extra $1,000 that you were going to spend on that handbag. So yes, definitely, those are things that yes, I will tell the younger people. Just be more conscientious again how to spend your money. Don't just be frivolous with it, because in the long run, that you can buy two or three of those handbags by the time you take that piece of property and you lease it out to maybe some people that need to house your property for trucks that may be driving trucks. Or you may end up putting a mobile home on that piece of property and renting that mobile home out for rental income. So you bringing in another source of income. So yes, I will tell the younger people to be more conscientious about it if those are things that you're trying to strive to do. If you want to know how to make stuff happen, if you want to be self-sufficient, if you want to be your own boss, that's how you do it. You take that money, like now, for example, I have 5 different businesses. I've only been generating income with 2 so far these last 3, 4, 5 years. And that's only because that's what I've been concentrating on. The other 3 came because I was trying to help out family members, but they ended up doing something different. But the company is registered in my name, it's my company. So this year on my playbook, I plan to generate income with all 5 of my companies this year. And I have already put it into motion to do just that. So I have a home health care company where people, personal care attendants, go sit with elderly people and help them with their daily activities. What I'm going to do with that is I'm sending my sister to take a class to teach or be an instructor for first aid and CPR. So that's going to generate income on that business. That money will in turn fund some of my other ventures. I have a trucking company that people don't know about. I've been had it since 2015, and I had not been generating income with that one. So what I have decided to do this year is start doing dispatching for truckers. That
Oh.
money is going to I'm going to use that money to fund myself to purchase my own truck and trailer. And my son-in-law is going to take his CDL license and he's going to drive the truck. So, it's just having that business mindset, or I call it the millionaire mindset. $1 million to some people is really not a lot of money this day and time. It is, but some people it is. So right now, I'm at $1 million mindset. $100,000. An average person can come out of college making $100,000 nowadays. That used to be, my eyes would get big when I would think about six digits. But I'm at $1 million mindset now. So the things that I think about and the way that I spend my money now is to help me get to that point. So, and then I have a cleaning company, and that was to help my son out. He used to work for one of the big companies here in Houston called Surf Pro, and he was laid off. And I asked him, I said, well, so he got kids now. He had the 2 girls, and he's depressed and going on. And I said, well, son, did you learn anything when you worked for him? And he said, well, yeah, I learned something. What do you mean? I said, well, start your own cleaning company. And Jamie, when we were growing up, those were not things that was instilled in us. Don't get me wrong, the elders used to have the corner stores, Miss Ellen Handy, the candy stores, Mr. John
Jabos.
Lewis, Jabos, so all of these elders, they had that because they had to, number one, because we knew what era they grew up in. So we had to have that on our side of the tracks. But my grandmother always told us to go to school, go to college, get a good job, take care of your family. And then you get old and what? I might not even get a chance to even spend your Social Security. So when I came to Houston, and my very first business happened by happenstance, and again, all of that is going to be in my book. But that was my first business, so Now I have that business mindset, that attitude. Like, you don't have to go out there and do that for them. You do it yourself. You have resources. I'm here to help you do it. So, so I got the cleaning company. And what happened was, like I posted on social media not too long ago, what happens when life gives you COVID? You start fogging. So I added something else to the platform. I went and bought the little Ghostbusters fogging machine that you put on your back. And I bought the little disinfectant stuff so we can fog buildings and make extra money. So whatever life has thrown at me, I can't say whatever curveballs life has thrown at me. What's the name of your book? When life gives you
Bitter lemon, sweet lemonade. Yes. I love it. And one thing I like is that I'm listening to you talk about because we always talk about family wealth and familial wealth. And I pull from it several truth nuggets. Number one, accepting the fact that everybody is not cut out to be the entrepreneur, and not everybody wants to be the entrepreneur because it is a lot of work. But saying, I also know that my family members are great workers. I know they're great leaders. So then, how do I keep this income in the family so that I may be the one that can organize everything, but I have relatives and family members. I have somebody who can teach the classes. I have someone that can do the work. I have someone that can connect with the people. And so we're going to put this wealth in the family and help everybody use their gifts and talents in a way that's going to generate direct income and good income to us. So that's a good thing, because when we talk about the Black intellectualism movement, major component of that is what income based, income driven. And how do we as a people continue to grow and strengthen each other and share our contributions to the world, where everybody around us gets to continue to see how intuitive the Black community is, right? And so everybody is wanting to come in and get the services and the work and to contact Bridgette and say, hey, I'm trying to start up a Fortune 500 company and I have inherited money, but I don't know what to do. We have got to continue to give voices to the Black men and women who are masterminds of these types of projects and goals and businesses, but do not, we are not always able to use our voices to get people to understand, I can make this happen for you. And a lot of times they discover us years down the road, but people need to connect with us right now. Because from the beginning of American history until now, name a time that Black people have not been able to make things happen for this country in particular. And so when you talked about all those different hats, my mind instantly went back to the historical idea that if you put a Black person in a situation where we have to figure out how to do it, we're going to find a way to make it the easiest for us. We will invent whatever tools we need to make it happen.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what I see you doing, continuously inventing ways for your family to experience wealth and to build themselves, and not just your family, every client you work with. When we go back to your bio, 22 people last year. Even when you gave me my training session and said, Jamie, you're going to start managing that money better so that you can understand where you are going, what you have, and how you can sustain even without the previous income you may have had, right? And charging me with that responsibility and showing me my tools and then sending me on my way to say, I'm expecting you to perform. But that's what has to happen, right? Look, that's what has to happen. So I love all the things you said. People in the comments like, I need to connect, preach, teach us, sis, all of that. So we're going to be sharing all of that.
And you made me think of something, though, that's what, again, my total bio, not even just the total, like I said, at this point in my life, I've done things, I've worked for various industries, but my total goal now is empowerment. I also, when you mentioned about the businesses that I have helped create or assisted in creating, all of these businesses are different. When you were talking about not only just keeping it in the family, but creating, my whole intellect is creating jobs for our people. We always want to say, well, we can't open businesses because the The Asian people have the hair stores tied up. The Iranian people have gas stations. You know, we want to make all these excuses, but when I sat down and I looked at all the different businesses that I assisted in creating, almost all of these businesses are different. There's no reason why we cannot come back collectively as a group of people, economically, and make stuff happen for us again. I hear all the different things on different platforms about, oh, let's create another Black Wall Street. You can't recreate another Black Wall Street. Every time I see that, I kind of cringe. We cannot recreate that because those people back then were in a totally different mindset than our people are now. Our generation, one thing I did learn, and I learned this again from my children and my grandchildren, believe it or not. My oldest grandchild is he'll be 11 or 12 in December. I learned from them how to work these social media platforms, how to work a lot of, I know I can run circles around on computer, but the social media stuff I learned from them. And I watched them and they had me watch people. And I remember I used to fuss at my daughter all the time. How can you sit up and watch those ratchet people on Instagram and do this and do that? Woo, woo, woo. She said, but mama, these wretched people have 1 million followers and they making money. I said, oh, really? Wow. So I said that to say the younger generation now, they want it now. They're a now generation. They want money now. They're not waiting for you to give them a job. They're not waiting for you to give them retirement. They don't want you taking their taxes out of their money and then putting it in a 401k and they play with your money. Let me play with my money. You can get in stocks and go to Fidelity and open up your own brokerage account without letting them play with your money. If I'm gonna lose it, I want to lose it myself. I don't want you to lose it. But this generation is totally different than it was with the Black Wall Street. So we cannot create Black Wall Street. But I tell you what, I know that it can probably be better when you consider the minds. Sit back and you look at these people hacking accounts. You see these people making memes on social media, photoshopping, video shopping, cropping, and you have to wonder, how do they come up with that? Like you said, when we're in a position where we're forced to make it happen, we have some very, open your jacket again, intellectual people. We have some very intellectual young people. And I used to always be on the same movement with, these kids ain't nothing these days. These kids ain't going to develop themselves. These kids, they just lost. No, they're not.
Yeah.
No, they're not. There's some things that these children have learned that we may need to unlearn.
You need to be open. Yeah, got to be open.
There's some truths that have come out these last 8 to 12 years that these children or this younger generation they've learned a lot really by themselves, because some of our elders have, I would say, kind of let them down. And then we want to blame the rap music and all this. But that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, I look at the fact that the businesses that I have assisted in creating, they're all different types of business. So there's no way that we cannot or can't come together and come up with our power, like Dr. Claude Anderson said, with power economics. We can do it. And it'll probably be even better than Wall Street at this day and time.
Yeah.
But we just have to get on the same page. We have to put the knowledge that we know that we are sharing. There's a lot of people that won't even, you can ask them one question, they act like they don't know. Oh, I don't know. But, like, what can you do? Take that knowledge to the grave with you? I mean, but if you don't want to share it free, then charge it.
Monetize it.
Yeah, exactly. Teach it. That's what everybody's doing now. Young lady, I went and got my eyebrows tatted on, girl, a couple of years ago. She was in a little small house. She turned into her place that she did her eyebrows and her makeup and stuff in. I kid you not, it wasn't a year later. This lady has a full-blown school over here in Houston on Richmond Avenue, I think it is, or Westheimer. And she has people flying in from all over the country for her to teach and train them how to do eyebrows.
Amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing.
So yes, we can do it. It can be done,
Okay.
and I enjoy what I do by helping people do.
I know. We see you light up, and not just that, observing everybody around you, right? So I love it. I love it. I'm going to take you to the next question. So we're going to dig more into what's going on right now with our money. We've seen
I'm a,
so many changes.
I'm gonna tell you like when people say, "Baby, that's an IRS question." So, girl, okay, these are not for sure answers, but I will tell you. Number one, they did put a halt on the tax refunds because they were pushing out the stimuluses. Number two, they
So
did put a halt.
can we pause on that because I was a victim of that as well. So for people who did not hear Baby, I was blessed to see him. So thank you, Jesus. But so for people who are saying I filed back in January or whatever, I still haven't gotten anything. Could it be because of this situation?
Partial.
Okay.
Every week, I may get one of my clients and say, "Hey, B, I got my money. How do I pay you?" So they have been releasing them a little bit at a time. The biggest thing is they're holding them up to make sure you're not double dipping on the previous stimulus.
Okay.
So, and I'm not saying that's for everybody because everybody didn't get the previous stimuluses. So I don't know exactly what the criteria is on why they're holding them up and so forth. I'm gonna give you all a couple of examples so it can be a little clearer. One example, I do a tax return every year. All he has is a W-2. He gets a refund back every year, the exact amount of refund because he has the exact amount of taxes coming out of his check. No problems. I can put his tax return in this week, and next week his money will be deposited in the bank. This year, he just got his tax return Saturday. Saturday, I think it was. Yeah. And it was the same thing. All he had was a W-2. But you have to if you receive the stimulus checks, the 1,200 and the 600, you have to put it on the tax return.
Mm-hmm.
It's not taxable, but you have to put it on the tax return. So number one, yes, they're holding it up to make sure that what you put on their tax return is what they say they sent you.
Okay.
Every taxpayer that received a stimulus payment should have received a letter or a little form in the mail. It was called a Form 1444.
Okay.
Yeah, 1444. People didn't know what to do with that. When I first saw it, I didn't know what it was, but it did say economic income, whatever it was. Well, you were supposed to keep that, which they never gave instructions on that I knew of. Because when I file your taxes, I need to know the exact amount of how much of the stimulus that you received because they want to match it up. If you didn't receive enough, they were supposed to reimburse you the remainder. And if you received more than what you're supposed to, then so be it. That was yours. So anyway, so with him, he did report that he received the stimulus and he received the correct amount, but he didn't receive the whole payment. It was like about $300 short. So that's what happened. And what happened was they sent him the $300 stimulus first,
Okay. Okay.
almost a month ago, and now they're just now sending out his tax return. So that's an example. So that's how I try to explain it to people. That's one reason why they are holding them up. A second example is I had another taxpayer. He has one child that he files, and he only has one W-2. He wasn't going to get anything back much this year because he didn't have enough taxes taken out of his check.
Okay.
Well, he did end up reaching out to me and say, "Hey, do you know when I can expect my tax return?" I go into my refunds today software, and it showed that they took his taxes. They said the amount that he paid in was the amount that he was supposed to pay, and he didn't get anything else. Well, he initially told me that he received $1,200 of the first stimulus,
Okay.
but in actuality, he received 1,700, which was 1,200 for him, 500 for the child. So when I submitted that return, it showed that he was going to get that other 500 and something back,
Okay.
and plus his taxes. But he misquoted me the numbers. And I make sure that I always get, if it's a text message, email, whatever it is, I want it in writing. That's what you told me to put on that tax return. So I, got a screenshot of it. I said, this is what you told me. So they took the whole thing, because what it was is he didn't report that and he didn't do it on purpose.
Right.
But again, when you are reporting how much of that stimulus that you made, either go back to that form 1444 or go to your bank statement. That bank statement is going to
Okay.
show you the exact amount of how much they deposited, how much you received back. And it'll be two separate payments, because they want both payments. There's two questions, one for each payment. So it's not grouped together. So that's what they're mainly doing, holding it to make sure that you're not.
So people need to ensure that you are correctly quoting how much you received on the stimulus check, because they are going to check that, and that can cause you to be delayed.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
well, let me ask you a question, and this is kind of a curveball, but one of the things I was told was that there was a backlogging issue, and that the system had crashed, and that 12 million people who had filed, they were stuck in that system, and they had to basically try to get it fixed. And I went and looked it up. It was true. I saw the article, and when I called the people that I prepare with, they said that that was also true. Has that had a real effect on this, or is it mostly because they also told me that things were backed up for the reason you said, which is because of the stimulus checks? So is that also true, or is it mostly because of the stimulus checks
Mostly
that we're in
because
this situation?
that's the first
Okay.
time I heard about the system crashing. But I do know for a fact the IRS is about 6 months behind on everything. They've been behind since this time last year, since COVID
Okay.
hit. 'Cause at this time, right when the tax season started, that's when they started shutting everything down. Remember, back in March, into February, March. So they've always been about 6 months behind now since this time last year. I was under distress because I didn't get my EFIN number until February, and I was supposed to get it in December. I was like, how can I do my taxes this year? So they are behind. I didn't hear anything about a system crash, but they can say what they
They
want.
said backlog or log jam was the term we saw.
They are backlogged,
Yeah,
definitely
that's
about.
what made me ask her. And I'm like, okay, because I didn't see it anywhere on the mainstream. So I'm
Me
like,
either.
we didn't have any clarification. Nobody was explaining anything. And I wasn't the only one. There was like several of us, we were all confused. And every time I would call the IRS, and they would say, we're not receiving any calls.
Calls and hang up.
Yes.
Well,
And
and
so,
think about
so
how
we
why
couldn't
when I
get
was
any
up there, I
guidance.
say, because I tell them, I said, well, the only thing you have to do is call the IRS. I said, but good luck with that, because when I get up in the morning at 7:55 on the dot. If I need to call IRS, I get on there and call, and I ride all the way to work with them in my ear, and then when I get to work, it'll tell me the same thing. I'm sorry, but we're taking calls right now, and then hang up. I will be so mad. But that's one of the main reasons why, because of that, those stimulus. I mean, you may as well admit it. There are people that do intentionally commit fraud, say they didn't receive it just to see if they'll
Mm-hmm.
get it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to also tell you this before we move on to the next question. I need to also explain something about the stimulus
Okay.
payments. The stimulus payments, they are not taxable, but they are an advance toward
You've heard that.
refundable credits
Mm-hmm.
that you would have gotten on your tax return. I hate being the bearer of bad news, but I've had 2 or 3 clients that I did do. And of course, when you finish their tax return, they're like, oh, well, I got double that last year. Nothing changed. still have the same amount of dependents. My income is the same. That's true. So now it's up to us as the tax preparer to try to explain this to the taxpayer because they don't give us that information from the beginning. Once they told everybody that it's not taxable, then they was all right with that. But tell them the rest of the story. And I didn't even fully understand it until I started doing the taxes. When it asks you those questions, let's say, for instance, I'm doing your tax return right now. It shows you're going to get back $5,200. No, let's say $5,800. When I get to that page, that worksheet 8 on that 1040, there's 2 questions. Did you receive the EIP number 1? You put yes. How much did you receive? I got $1,200. Did you receive EIP number 2? You put yes. How much did you receive? I put $600. And you hit that calculate button. Now your tax return is less $1,200. I mean, $1,800. So now instead of $5,800, you're only getting $4,000.
Okay.
That's how that works. So that's why a lot of people did not get everything that they normally would get back because some people are standard. You have the same dependents, income hasn't changed, you're working for the same company, you had the same amount of taxes, maybe close to the same amount of tax coming out, but you still got less back because that money is in advance toward refundable credits.
So long story short, everybody that was out there capping for these stimulus checks, give me more, they just basically loaned you some of your money.
Bam. So y'all can expect it again next year. Whatever you're getting as far as stimulus, that is coming out of your tax return, your refund next year. It's going to be the same thing.
Now they just loaned you your own money, honey.
They just loaned you your own money. That's what they did.
You know,
because I kept me and the other CPA on my job, we kept trying to figure out, okay, how is this going to work? How is this going to work? And I asked her, have you heard anything about how this is going to work? No. Have you heard anything about how this is going to work? No. So once, and I even taught a tax class before the season started, and we went over the new coronavirus act laws and things that the credits and deductions, and we still did not know how it was going to work until we actually put that stuff in that software, and that number went up. And when you put that stimulus in there, that number dropped right back down. So that's how that works. So I just wanted to make sure that I clarified that for people who didn't understand why, because they'll look at me and they'll think I didn't know what I was doing, or you didn't prepare a tax return correctly. The lady last year got me 10,000 back, and now I'm only getting 8.
Yeah,
we're using the same software. It's just a different brand.
So this was so interesting to hear. You know, and I remember Miss Audrey Peters, my great aunt, God bless her soul, used to say, all money ain't good money. And for us who need it, it's been great, but just understand that is the attachment that comes to it.
Yeah, because nothing is free.
I clarified a whole bunch because I kept telling people, I'm like, I don't care what y'all say, I'm suspicious. Like, help me. It's something else to this.
Something else.
Throwing out checks like this.
Exactly.
And so that clarifies and explains a whole bunch that people definitely need to know. If you see a decrease in your refund this year, then it's more than likely because you were already advanced that. She's saying through your stimulus check, and that this is probably not the only year you will see a reduction. That you'll probably see it in the next years to come. That is a huge one. Thank you. That's a nugget. But everybody should be sharing, texting, and tagging.
I've been trying to save it for tonight because I was gonna post it last weekend when I was doing my little. Sometimes when I post my little
freebie, hot nugget for us.
Save it for you. So but on top of that, a few of the other coronavirus act things were let's see. I wanted just to touch bases. The unemployment compensation, I did touch base on that on my website, on social media, I believe the other day, about the unemployment income. It was on one of the flyers. Did you know the $10,200 of your unemployment was not taxable?
Okay.
So for every.
So do you mind explaining? Because there's been a little bit of confusion about, I know that they said for a minute that you could not go back and amend it right now. That would give information about that. Can you clarify? I don't know if I'm saying it correctly.
And they have. So, in the beginning, like you said, we filed taxes back in January, first part of February. Um, so people that had unemployment, we'd already filed their tax return with the unemployment in it. Let's say a person received 20,000 unemployment or 19,000 unemployment. So the mid part of February, after Biden came in, did his little thing with his pen. Then they decided to sign in the American Relief Act or whatever it's called, American Relief Plan, and they excluded the first $10,200 of any unemployment compensation. Means it's not taxable.
Okay.
So, I had a client, I was doing hers. And it just so happened she comes. I said, "Well, I need to check a couple more things." I said, "Before I finalize this and send it to you." So my computer just kept updating, kept updating, kept updating. I told her, I said, "Girl, I don't know what's going on." I shut it down. So I came back in the next day and bam, we had the announcement about the unemployment compensation exclusion. So when I went back in, my software was updated because it went ahead and excluded. But I already knew what to do. I'd already went in there and calculated and then get back out and get my little bills. So anyway. So then they signed that into play. So initially they did say, don't do anything, don't do any amendments, don't wait until further notice from the IRS or your tax preparer. Well, they did send out some correspondence, and I'm going to tell you what I have here. They said, okay. For the taxpayers who had already filed and figured out their 2020 tax based on the full amount that they reported, let's say if they received 19,000 and they reported at 19,000. Well, the IRS is going to determine, they're going to look at their tax return. So what they're going to do is the people who received the unemployment, they already know that, they're going to pull those tax returns again. They're going to go ahead and do their calculations or whatever.
Okay.
If they owe you more money, they will send you the extra money.
Okay.
But there's a but.
Okay. Mark it up now.
So that's for anybody that overpaid. Now, for any taxpayers that, let's say, a person received earned income credit on their tax return.
Okay.
And they still got their earned income credit, even though they reported that whole $19,000 worth of unemployment. Well, the IRS is going to figure it out for you, and if they owe you any more earned income credit, they'll send it. Well, let's say you did your tax return, you were supposed to get some earned income credit, and you didn't because you had more of unemployment and not enough earned income to get the earned income credit.
Okay.
Well, once they take that $10,200 back off, and you are due earned income credit, then yes, you have to file an amendment. It sounds a little confusing, but your tax preparer, again, should already know. If not, with me giving this announcement, they have them go back and look at the new rules and laws or whatever. And what'll happen is the IRS is going to figure it out for you. If the tax return had earned income credit in it and you were due more, but if you didn't receive earned income credit, but you should have, then you go and amend it. Let me see what else it says. Then you file an amended return if the recalculations make new eligible federal tax credits. Because let's say that unemployment bumps you out of your earned income credit and your child tax credits and so forth. Then if you are due those credits, then you amend that return.
Okay.
Like I said, it sounds a little confusing, but your tax preparer will know. Or if you prepare your own taxes, then just go through and read it and you'll understand. But to me, it's still kind of confusing because if they're going to go through each one of these tax returns with unemployment on it, then, and my tax preparer already knows, well, hey, yeah, you probably should have got. So now what happens? The IRS is going to go ahead and redo it, but I've already had my tax preparer redo it. Or you may have some tax preparers that already started amending them, but a whole other mess. Yeah.
So long story short, if you're due anything, if you need to make any amendments, you're going to be contacted. and then called in. So people basically need to just wait.
Pretty much.
Okay.
They're going to be waiting.
Okay. So for those who have been very concerned about that, I was definitely one of them. If you're trying to figure out what's going on with their earned income credit or anything like that, she's saying that if you need to go in for an amendment, because I didn't know, I'm like, I don't know if that applies to me or not. That was my thing. I'm like, they're talking about me, or they're not talking about me. So if you're one of those people who has felt like me, and you're still like trying to figure out where you fit in this bubble, she said that you will be contacted if you need to make any changes. So just hold out.
Well, not if you need to make changes. What they'll do is they're supposed to be recalculating it and gonna just send you the money.
Okay.
But it's up to the discretion of the taxpayer because it says, however, taxpayers would have to file an amended return if they did not originally claim the earned income tax credit.
Okay.
So that's why I say, to me, it would have been a whole lot easier if the IRS would have just said, if you receive that money and you've already filed it, just do an amendment. It would make more sense to me because there's millions and millions of people who receive that unemployment. So now I know me as the average taxpayer would be wanting my money back now. So I'm going to go in and try to have somebody do an amendment. Now, if I go have somebody do an amendment and the IRS is already doing their amendments or whatever, or recalculations, then send you the money. Not on top of that, let's say you needed to provide your tax return to somebody next year, or you buying a house or something, and you showing them the regular tax return that you filled out. The IRS has recalculated some things, and you don't even have a copy of what they recalculated. So it's just a whole big old mess. But anyway.
So just sit and wait. It's just a whole big old mess. And it's so funny. It's so funny because, like I told you before, even when I called in to talk to the professionals as well on the other end, they were like, "Well, honey, it's just all over the place." So I was like, okay. So let me ask you about another question that's important as well, and that is about the deadline, the extension of the deadline to file taxes. Can you update us on that?
Can you put a pin in that real quick? There was one more thing too that I wanted to reiterate. I started putting this out during the beginning of tax season, but I don't think a lot of people understood what I was talking about. And I hate that I just don't have enough time in a day to do what I want to do with my videos and stuff. But also, I put a flyer out that says you can use your 2019 earned income to figure out your earned income credit for 2020.
Okay.
And I think people were kind of confused because they started hearing it other places. Then they would tell me, "Is that true?" And I'm being like, "I just put this on Facebook the other day." But yeah. So what that is basically 2019. You had some good income. The average taxpayer make about $25,000. You have 3 children, so you're getting the maximum earned income credit, child tax credit. So then 2020 come, COVID hit. Now you're laid off or your hours are cut. You only made $10,000 in earned income, and you may have gotten about $8,000 or $9,000 in unemployment. Let's say that's under the 10,000 threshold. So at the end of the day, your earned income, and that's another thing too. People, I had a tax return that I was doing this year, and I was looking at their prior year tax return to get their AGI, and their AGI was calculated incorrectly. People, earned income is just money from wages. Unemployment is not earned income.
Okay.
Unemployment is not earned income. But anyway, so that person only made $10,000 in earned income in 2020 because they were laid off because of COVID. Well, with that kind of money, you're not going to get the maximum earned income credit back. So let's say that prior year, they probably would have got $9,000 in tax refund.
Okay.
Well, when they did their 2020, they was only going to get half of that because their income was cut in half.
Okay.
So you can use your earned income. So that person can use that $25,000 earned income from 2019 to get that maximum earned income credit back.
Okay.
So for people who prepare their own taxes or your tax preparer, then you are allowed to use the 2019 earned income if your 2020 earned income was less. That way you can maximize your deductions and your credits.
Okay.
So, and like I say, I know for a lot of people who's, to be honest, every year I get a handful of people who just still don't know what's on their tax return. And I don't bash anybody about that, but that's why I teach the classes. I don't just teach it for business people. I also teach it for individuals. I can call somebody right now today and tell them, hey, I'm trying to finish up your tax return before I submit it. I need to know your AGI. And the first thing they say is, well, what's AGI? And my thing is, if you've been doing your taxes for the last 30 years, I know you've been working since you were 16, 17. But again, I don't bash people because they don't know. A lot of people don't understand or they don't want to understand because it's IRS. They're scared of them. They just don't want to have to owe. I do these classes to empower people. I can do one-on-one classes at a cheaper rate. I like to do the group classes because I have, my time is limited. But these tax classes that I'm teaching, even if it's just for you to understand, again, this goes back to budgeting, being money conscientious. People, when you get a big tax return at the end of the year, it's not because they're giving you free money, people. You're getting a big tax return, and I'm not talking about people with kids that get a lot of earned income credit. The basic average taxpayer that may have one child and a real good job, you're only getting that big return back because you have overpaid taxes throughout the year. That is what a tax refund is, a refund. They're just giving you your money back. Me, I need mine to pay my bills throughout the year. I don't want to wait until next year to wait on my money. So
that's why understanding all those terms are so important, so that when you're filling out that initial paperwork, you're not just letting somebody else have control over what's coming out of your paycheck and things. So in other words, it's not just about tax season. It's about the management of your income consistently throughout the year.
Exactly.
Knowing that terminology, being able to manage what's coming out of your income and what you should have coming out of there. So thank you, because that's something we need to know. We are focusing a lot on what's going on during this season, but what you said is this is only a snippet. You need to know what's going on with your income and what people are taking out of that paycheck when it comes to your bosses, yourself as the boss, or whoever. What's been taken out, and how can you make sure that it's not too little and not too much?
Exactly.
So, awesome. So I wanted to ask about the extension of the deadline, and can you just reiterate that for us and what that means for everybody for filing taxes?
Initially, when was the Texas winter storms in February? Initially, they had already extended the Texas filing deadline to June 15th. And then after that, since everything got backed up and so behind and stuff is just everywhere, they now have initially backed up the whole nation's filing deadline to May 17th. Now, please contact, if you're from a different state, contact, I guess look on your state's website or something, or what's the IRS website, just to make sure that your particular state doesn't also have another deadline, because you have to think about people that went through other hurricanes in other areas, the wildfires in California. So, there were other disasters in other areas. So if you feel like that you are in a disaster area, check the IRS website and see if maybe another deadline, you all have a different deadline. But the main deadline is May 17th. The IRS pushed that back to May 17th. And for Texas, it's June 15th. But if you were in a disaster area in 2020, you may have a different deadline. So just check the IRS website and double check those things too.
Awesome. And we are thankful for those deadlines, but one thing I always tell people is you still don't want to wait till the last minute. Like, the extensions have been good, but you still want to try to make sure you use that time wisely, because a lot of times people end up, you figure out you're not the only person that needed the extension, or you're not the only person that may have waited a little bit longer, and so you don't want to get in that rush, because even if you use an individual to prepare for you, you don't want them to to have to be a crunch at the last minute, because if they're in a crunch, honey, they may miss a couple of dollars for you, and that's, so you want to make sure that you can. The extension is there for those who need it, but don't wait till the last minute. Is basically what I wanted to.
Another fun fact is, okay, even though they have extended the filing deadlines,
Mhm.
if you owe the IRS, they still want their money on April 15th. Yes, ma'am.
So repeat
That's a
that.
catch
Repeat that.
22.
Drop that hot gospel one more time.
Even if the IRS extends the filing deadline, that's just a file. The IRS still want their money on April 15th if you owe it.
Yes, ma'am.
Which I know a lot of people don't do that.
I did not know either.
Now, the other part of that is also, let's say you can't make your 17th or that June 15th deadline either. Then yes, like Jamie said, go ahead and file you an extension of time. It'll be extended until October 15th or 17th or something like that. The catch to that is you are still being penalized. You're still being charged penalties and interest because you're not filing on time. So even if you file an extension, they still penalize you because you did not file on time.
Okay.
And people don't know that. So, and some people have been penalized, some people haven't yet. Yeah, don't know how IRS come up, but there is a rule that says you still will be penalized even if you file a extension. But it's very important to file that extension, so it's better than not filing an extension. Right. You definitely are going to be penalized for filing late. So filing that extension. So, and I file extensions for people who can't meet those deadlines, and I only charge $75 for the to file an extension for you. To meet that deadline. And one thing I do, when you said about getting that information to your tax preparer, it is very crucial that you do not put your tax preparer in a crunch. I found myself pretty overwhelmed last year, waiting to the last minute to do people taxes. This year, if you have not gotten sent, if I'm going to prepare your taxes this year, and you have not sent it to me at least 2 weeks prior to that deadline, I am charging an extra fee for my time, for my stress, because that's very overwhelming.
Understandably, right. Understandably so. Okay, so I'm going to just do 3 quick questions because we are now, believe it or not, we are hitting the hour and a half mark. And that's why when I tell people that our discussions are an hour and a half, sometimes people are like, an hour and a half. I say, trust me, baby, when we crank it up in this count, that's it. I said, before you know it, that hour and a half has gotten here. And so the first thing that I want to ask you is, number one, you made a very important statement a few weeks ago, and I would like for you to reiterate that. And it's about the PPP loan and fraud. Because we've heard a lot of talk about this, and I had sent that question to you. You had done a post about that a while back. And we've heard a lot of people talk about, all the different things that folks have done to collect this money. But I tell people all the time, the feds, I don't know feds, I don't play with the feds, and I don't want the feds playing with me. So what would you say about that? Working in this industry, knowing this industry, what's your tidbit for the public?
Well, number one, when they first rolled that out, again, our job took advantage of it. The company I work for is small in numbers, a family-owned company, but they're big in money, multi-millionaires. So they take advantage of any tax breaks and credits that they can. So when they first rolled it out, I was a little kind of confused about what was going on. I knew what it was for. Number one, that PPP stands for payroll protection. Just what it is, payroll protection. So for the people out there that want to apply for it, again, to each is his own. I don't try to knock anyone, but it is my duty as a paid IRS tax preparer with a P10 and an EFIN number who files with the IRS. It is my job and duty to tell you what the rules and the laws are, whether you like it or not. Those loans are for people who have employees or contractors who work under them. Some of that loan is forgiven. I don't know exactly how much, but some of it can be used for overhead expenses. But the majority of that money is supposed to be used for payroll protection, meaning they wanted you at that time when they rolled it out. They wanted you to use that to retain your employees and contractors so that nobody would have to be out of a job. So basically that employer is getting an incentive on retaining those employees to put it back into their business. Number two, for the smaller businesses who are applying for it, again, I didn't apply for it. I don't have employees. I didn't even really dig into how to complete the application because I have a lot of things on my plate right now, and are a lot of people who were contacting me about doing it, and I had to turn it down. I didn't even really want to deal with it because it's a lot involved. Number one, you need to have financials. I don't. People were telling me, "Oh, they didn't ask me for documentation. They just sent me the money. They didn't ask for documentation." Okay, that's fine and dandy. Somewhere down the line, they're going to ask for documentation.
Mm-hmm.
And trust and believe you do need to pay that money back. If you don't, that's on you. That you'll be penalized for it. It is a loan through the SBA coming from the federal government. Um, but I didn't get into it, so I don't know exactly what they asked. But me knowing what loan uh financial people ask for, loan officers, anytime you try to get grants, scholarships, whether it's free money or loans, they want to see financials. So if you do not have those financials in order, woe is you. I don't know what they're gonna go by to give you that money. If you don't have employees, that's up to you if you want to apply for it, but that's what it's for. It's for people that have employees to retain their employees to make sure that they're not out of a job. That is what that payroll protection plan is for. Um, yes, there has been a lot of fraudulent activities with it, and it's hearsay to me. I haven't seen it personally. I've seen it on social media. I've seen it in the news outlets, and yes, we have seen them arrest a few people who received millions and millions of dollars and went and bought brand new cars and brand new houses and stuff. So, that's nothing kept secret, no top secret. People have been getting arrested and they're thinking, oh, that's the big fish, that's the big fish. They're not worried about the little fish, but I'm just saying. So when they knock on your door, yeah, don't
When
be
they come over to
surprised.
your pond, honey,
Don't be
and scoop
surprised.
you up with
You
that
know,
pole, just
because that is federal government, baby. So that is federal penitentiary time. So, but I'm not gonna estimate on things or just tell you what I think, but I'm gonna give you the data that I pulled up from the IRS.
okay.
The PPP loan fraud is obtaining money by false pretenses through the CARES Act of April 2020. This is to one example is when people don't have fewer than 500 employees so they can try to qualify for the loan. Another example is saying that the coronavirus really hurt their business, but it really didn't. Another example is inflating your payroll costs in order to get more money. One example is falsely claiming that the loan is going toward qualified expenses when in actuality you're out buying a Lamborghini. Or if you're not disclosing, leaving out some of the employees anyway to get more. The crime is called making false statements or overvaluing securities. Federal punishment could lead up, and it is a felony. It can lead up to $5,000 and or 2 years in the federal prison. Or there is another crime called embezzlement, which is a felony offense, which can lead up to $10,000 and or 5 years in prison.
So our high
Those are
rollers
some of
out
the
there, you know that it can be called embezzlement if you out
yeah.
there.
They and the more money I think you get, the more charges they put on you because some of the people I've seen have charges of money laundering, bank fraud, all of that. They've tacked onto these people, these charges on these people for getting that money and misusing it. And I hate to see that because we have the smaller businesses who really are actually fueling the economy that really needed that money. And then you have people out here that's illegally obtaining it and not using it properly. But again, it's just my duty to let you know that that's how it is now. But you do have a loan out there called the EIDL, which is that one last year. I think it went up to $150,000 if you qualify for it. And yeah, there were other um, um things that you had to do to get that. But one thing about the EIDL, which was the Economic Impact Disaster Injury Loan, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. One thing about that is if you didn't qualify for the loan itself, they would still give you part of the grant, which the grant could have been up to $10,000. So even if you apply for the EIDL and you didn't receive the loan itself, you could still have qualified for the grant, which is free money. You don't have to pay that back. So what happened is when they opened it up again this year, the EIDL, I'm not talking about the PPP because again, that's above me. That's above my pay rate. The EIDL, if you let's say last year you applied for it, you didn't receive it, but you did get $1,000 in the grant money. But
Mm-hmm.
this year they said if you did receive part of the grant money and you didn't receive the whole 10,000, the federal government was sending emails directly to you. So you
Okay.
didn't have to go back in and fill out another application. You didn't have to contact them. They would send you an email, and you just go through there and do what the email says to do in order for you to qualify for the other $9,000 in grant money. So I mean, there was money out there that you can get without some people being greedy or trying to, obtain Fed funds under false
And
pretenses.
I will say that that EIDL email was sent out on the 30th. So, um, people, if you haven't taken advantage, you may be interested in. I know in Louisiana, that's when it was sent out. So,
And if you don't see it in your regular email, check your spam and junk because a lot of that stuff goes to spam and junk too. So if you may have received it and didn't even know it, check your spam and junk folders.
so I have two more questions for you. You have been helping those who have not gotten any stimulus checks, being due to being homeless or not filing taxes. Are you still offering that service? And if so, what do they need to do to connect with you?
Yes, ma'am, I am. And actually, I'm offering it at a discounted rate now at only $35 to do the return. All I need is a copy of your ID if you have an ID and a copy of your social security card. I have to fill out a form 1040, and the only thing that goes on there is your contact information. If you have a bank account, put the bank account information on there and the amount of stimulus that you did not receive. If you don't have a bank account, I've been suggesting that people either get a cash app or get a prepaid debit card because it'll get to you faster. Now, it is a paper return. I have not put any of those in my computer software as an electronic return because the bank, Santa Barbara Bank, is going to charge you $100 just to transfer. So it's a paper return. And as a paper return, you're looking at a 6 to 8 week turnaround just for them to process it. So it'll be a lengthy process, but you are still eligible. This goes out to people again that has been incarcerated, people, older people that don't normally file their tax return because all they get is Social Security, but they didn't get it. Disabled people. I had a lady call me and say, "I'm disabled, baby. I didn't get none of the stimulus because I don't file tax return." So basically, contact me. All I need is your contact information and fill out the 1040 for you, sign it, and mail it off. It's a wait process, but it's your money. All it's going to do is sit there.
All right, I am updating that information right now so that people can see that. And so, could you also tell people, because there are a lot of people that are like helping with their parents, they're taking care of their parents and things like that. Can you emphasize, let them know, kind of speak to them to let them know as well that if they're caring for their parents and things like that, because it may not be on the formal documentation, would you be able to help them as well? Help their parents get their stimulus check if they did not receive one.
Yes, I can. In the same manner. If let's say if an adult has been taking care of their parent and they are not filing them on their tax return, then they would have to file their tax return for that parent. You can't go back and redo your tax return unless you're going to file them on your tax return. But it's already done. So going back and trying to redo it, you it'll be better for you to just go ahead and file them their own separate tax return. at 10:40. And you don't have to put any wages or anything on there. All I need is the contact information and how much of the stimulus that they did not receive, and how are they going to receive the funds. Most older people, if you are take care of your parent, I tell you to take advantage of filing them on your tax return, because you can get a deduction for that if you're helping taking care of your parent. You can file your parent on your tax return.
So Bridgette, you are very, very active on social media. I've been so proud of you because you have made the glow up. She is branding excellently. She's constantly dropping jewels, knowledge, things that can help you. She offers classes. Just a wealth of knowledge. So, with that being said, what are some of your social media contacts where people can connect and follow with you? And can you please also tell everyone about the newest class you have coming up?
Okay. My I use Facebook, and I can't ever remember the names of all of these pages,
I will
but
put your
look up
numbers in
Bridget
there.
Perkins. Bridget Perkins on Facebook. I do also have a business page on Facebook. It's Pro Biz dot notary, I think it is. If you pull my name up there, they'll come up. On Instagram, it's pro dash biz solutions. And also I'm on TikTok at the boss lady, BOSSL number 8T. And I'm on YouTube, so just look up professional business solutions on YouTube. And I also have a website. Please go to my website. It's a very nice website. It's www.pbs-thesolution.com. That's www.pbs-thesolution.com. And there's a host of things on there for you to see. The different services I do. I do notary. I do tax preparation. I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor. I do accounting, bookkeeping. Um, I teach classes. I'm also a registered agent for the state of Texas, which is one of the most important things. Like I said, right now on my platform is helping people start their businesses. I've started businesses in California, Texas, Louisiana. I have a young lady next on Monday is actually from Georgia, who I'll be helping file their LLC in Georgia. I'm only a registered agent in the state of Texas, though. So I can't be your registered agent in another state, but I coach you and I consult with you on what you need to do in your state, making sure that you have all the proper licenses, making sure that you have your occupational licenses, any permits that you have to have, and so forth like that. I do continuous client support for you. Again, and my class that's coming up this weekend, I did normally you have to have it paid for a week in advance, but I did extend it out and you can pay it for it all the way up to the day. And the thing is because people's money have been held up, some of them just couldn't. They said, "B, I would love to take these classes, but I just don't have it right now because we haven't gotten our money." So, I do have a lady that is going to be joining me this weekend. So if you can take advantage of it, the class is $249.99, and it is basic knowledge on your tax preparation, what you need to know that's on your tax return, where they get those numbers from, and also for businesses to know what type of deductions, what type of credits you are allowed to take, and to reduce that taxable income for your business.
I love it. I love it. Most important thing I want to reiterate from this conversation is that Bridgette provides you with the ability to take control of your finances, especially as a business owner. There were several people in the comments who said, I need to connect with you. I want to learn more. She's offering classes, she's offering services. And as you can see, Bridgette is very enthusiastic about what she does to help us generate Black wealth and wealth in general. And so we want to make sure to take control of it and invest into ourselves so that we can have knowledge of our own. I tell people all the time, it's a wonderful thing to have people that work for you, but you also want to understand what they're doing.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So with the infamous hour and a half, you guys know that an hour and a half mark, they start giving us the blues, but don't worry about it. We made it tonight. Before we click out of here, you guys, I have to take a moment. Many of you all may have been looking already, but as you can see, I have the official, the Black Intellectualism Movement t-shirt. As you guys know, I dropped a flyer a few weeks ago letting you guys know that the movement was official, where the mission is to continue to explore and talk about the issues that affect the Black community and in the aspect of connecting us with the world. So the goal is not for us to stay in a hub where we're only functioning among other Black people, but to take the beauty, the courage, the love, the amazing gifts, talents, and intelligence of the Black community and to share it around the world. And so this is my shirt. And I want to thank, let me stand up so you guys can see it. I would like to thank of Monroe, Rick, and Fanyana for sponsoring my t-shirts. And they have so graciously transferred the designs on that I created. And if you are interested in knowing how you can support the Black intellectualism movement, because I pay for the streaming services, I'm learning more and more about this. So I invest my time. I pay for all the art, the apps I use to do the artwork. So you guys are putting in some serious work. And if you're one of the people who's asked, and I've had a lot of people ask, how can we support you? Of course, the first thing that you all can continue to work to help your sister take treks to the top. Okay. So my book is on Amazon, but the second way is to order your t-shirt and represent the brand as well, the Black intellectualism movement. I am putting the link in the comments where you can place your order if you're interested. And just let me know that you'd like to order a t-shirt, and we'll get those out in movement. I know that people, like when we have t-shirts, people are ready to rock with those. So very excited. I love my shirt. You will see me during every discussion rocking the Black intellectualism t-shirts with my blazer, or you know how I do, whatever we want to rock it with. So I'm very okay. You're like, thank you. So, we'll mix it up and everything. It's in our bloodline, cuz. So, we have to be fashionable and forward. Right. And I want to thank Bridgette so much tonight for being so absolutely amazing. Typically, I read a poem closing out tonight, but you guys, we've had so much great information. And honestly, I didn't know if I could find the piece that really exhibited how I felt. You guys know that we're looking at another wave of violent incidents that involve Black men and the police. And we know Black women are not absent for this. We experience that as well. My greatest encouragement is for us to continue to be loving and kind and encouraging toward each other, and to look out for each other. Because at the end of the day, the conclusion I had today is that we cannot control other people's actions. We can push accountability. We can uphold the expectation of accountability. But individually, what can we do? And individually, we can continue to look out for our brothers and sisters, be vocal about standing up, be loving and supportive of each other, and continue to do things like this where we empower and share knowledge and seek to grow and go to the next level, so that when we step in the room to make our voices heard, we come with straight facts and we don't back down. And so I'm just asking that we continue to look at ourselves each day and say, how can I ensure that I am being my brother's keeper, I am being my sister's keeper, and that I am being compassionate and kind to all of my brothers and sisters who are affected by the challenges that the Black community faces each day. That I am being encouraging and supportive of helping my brothers and sisters survive yet another day of difficulty and hardship. Because above all, that is what makes a heck of a difference in the lives of other people. We'll talk more. We'll get down to the business soon. I thank Bridgette so much for being here for this fantastic conversation.
You're welcome.
Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Please feel free to go back and play this over and over again. I will put all the links to connect with her in the comments on this conversation. And Bridgette would also, if she's free to come in and make any comments that she would like, so that you guys can also connect with her that way. Thankful for you guys tuning in tonight. Thank you so much, Bridgette. And let's continue.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So thank you so much, and you guys have a good night.